Are casual builds worth it in a group setting? Right, for this I devised a simple test, albeit a very biased one. Now, for this test, it's quite simple. I didn't do it solo because this is all about group play. I'm running my casual king build, which I showcased in an earlier video. 4-piece strikers using chest and backpack, all rolled to blue, Catharsis mask and Picaro's holster. And we just did Lincoln Memorial. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy, not a lot can go wrong. And I did this in a 2-man with Pomic, who annoyingly had some technical issues. There's been this weird bug lately where enemies just become invisible, and half of the enemies were invisible for him, but didn't really have time to rerun it. That being said, both Pomic and I are pretty well established players. We've basically lived on IKEA's spreadsheets within the game, and we've got some pretty decent knowledge between us. We were kind of expecting this to be pretty even between us, simply just because I'm going to be more aggressive, because 1, it's how I play, 2, I've now got 6 blue cores. As well as, although he isn't running the chest, he's running the backpack with strikers, he is obviously going to have to take certain timeouts to readjust his play, because obviously I can take a fair bit more punishment than him. Then we did it again with 3 players, and this is where we really started to notice a difference in scaling, especially with me not having really any blues, because unless I had Catharsis stacked, I struggled to even kill reds. Like, it was kind of becoming painful. And then we did it again with 4 players, and the one thing we noticed with 4 players, which kind of goes in the favour of casual players, is it is quite simply whoever can get to the door first and hog the door wins. So it less becomes a matter of DPS and more who can hold the fucking door. Now, for our duo, I mostly actually felt useless. I mean, the footage is sped up by 200%, so it's twice that what it should be. And although it possibly looks quite impressive, I am running 6 blue, and while in mission, I felt mostly useless. I really did feel like I wasn't doing anything, and despite the fact that on certain points it was quite clear that I got the kill, I overall felt like I wasn't doing that much. However, the stats do read a different story. I do actually outperform Pomic here. However, again, he was having that lovely invisible ad bugs. For the entire last sequence, he maybe saw this first initial area of ads, and other than that, he's basically shooting into the wind because he just can't see them. And the final bosses that drop down, he doesn't see them at all, so that's basically all me. He just doesn't see them. He does his pulse, but as you can see, he's not really shooting anything. So I do outperform him here. However, we then got Unknown Spot involved to run the second take. And yeah, I don't think it needs to be said that not only do my stats show that I was useless, I was useless. I might as well have not been in the group. Now, like I said, this changes a bit of dynamic a little bit when we hit 4-player. However, the 3-player setup was quite interesting because it is essentially what we expected to see throughout. See, annoyingly, when it got to 4-player, it basically became a point of whoever gets to the door first can hold the door, and they essentially body block everyone else's shots. And although, as long as I'm able to keep maximum stacks of this, it is about as powerful, just a little bit less powerful than a standard Hunter's Fury full red build would be in this scenario. So for this, we are kind of technically using what you could argue to be the best casual setup in the game. 4-piece strikers, all rolled to blue. I'm running Catharsis, maybe you want to run Coyotes, but I'm also running Picaro's that has both a blue and a red core essentially. The damage on this isn't too bad, especially in terms of solo, and I went with Catharsis because I really just wanted Catharsis to actually feel like it has a purpose within PvE, but generally speaking, it did better than I originally anticipated within duo as well as then 4-player. But then the 4-player thing, like I said, you're just body blocking each other the whole time. So if I'm guarding a door, the 3 other players that are behind me that will most likely and do kill their doors quicker than me then can't get a shot in because I'm in the way of the door, which was kind of annoying and not a very good way to test. I would be interested in doing this again with randoms. However, at the same time, it's kind of hard to communicate with randoms, particularly as well. I'm not the most linguistical. Not everyone obviously speaks English, as well as then I kind of feel bad infecting other players with this build. Now, hopefully you can also see that this was done a lot quicker than in Duo, but again, I was useless here. I barely even got to kill reds. I think I struggled to even keep my stacks up to even do decent damage with strikers. It was just outright horrible. Like, this is kind of, like I said, like this is how we thought it was going to go. Again though, I am just using people from the bro squad here. A lot of them are speedrunners. Unknown Spot is a very well-known speedrunner within the missions he typically does. I mean, weirdly, they're on hard. I don't quite understand hard, but something to do with RNG. And Lincoln Memorial is one that he's got a lot of experience in. This time we get Leo in, and we now have 4 players. And yeah, like I said, this basically just becomes guard the door simulation, which is kind of a bit annoying. And there are certain points where it's just sort of like, there's no point me even looking at this door because they're going to kill it before I can do anything about it. So then I move on to the next area, but then that also means I'm going to be first to get to XYZ door. Now, this is actually weird because this is actually the one where I felt the most useless in. There's 3 other players with full red striker builds with Ouroboros. I literally felt like I couldn't do anything. That being said though, the stats actually aren't that bad. Obviously here we have Unknown Spot flexing his overall knowledge of Lincoln Memorial, but Leo got 473 mil, Pomic got 604 mil, I got 323, which is more than I got in the 3-player. Obviously scaling is going to be applied here. So in terms of overall performance, I probably did overall less. However, it wasn't as low as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be lower than the previous one. That being said, I absolutely did get carried, and it was genuinely not an enjoyable experience. I did not like it. Now, there is something to be said about going down, and I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, but you make up the damage because you don't die as often. You would be surprised how many times, or where it's going through quite quick, but you would be surprised how many times I was so close to going down. Admittedly, I didn't go down, and I think Pomic goes down twice, and I think Unknown Spot goes down once as well. But generally speaking, it felt so much less comfortable, as well as more risky. Like, I mean, most of the time I run a Revive Hive anyway, but I genuinely felt like I needed the Revive Hive. Like, actively needed the Revive Hive. So despite the fact that I was somewhat surprised throughout running this test, my conclusion is basically, as I've been stating for some time now, if you want to play solo or within your own predetermined groups within your clan, run what you want. But if you're going to run with randoms, I am afraid to tell you that this is the part where the meta really does come in handy, simply because it is going to give you the most bang for your buck, as well as the overall best chances for completing certain areas as well as missions. If I was running this build and these 3 suddenly all died, there's not a chance in hell I could do anything about it at all. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.